what made you happiest last year? Like, what was your kind of like winning moment? And I said, well, that's really easy. When everything got locked down in our city, um, my wife and I decided the best way that we could help kids in foster care who couldn't even go to school anymore, they couldn't even really leave the house, was to just buy them all bicycles. And so we wound up buying like 55 brand new bikes for kids in foster care. And that was like my win of the year. It was awesome. And so my CFO at the time said, well, how much did that cost you? And I said, well, between that and some other stuff, like, I don't know, 50,000. And he's like, well, what if you could 10X that? What if you could buy 500 bikes a year, or give away 500,000 a year, or even give away $1 million a year? And I said, well, that would feel great. Like, it would feel like this is the purpose. And he's like, well, then why don't you just make lots of money and give it away?
So you can tell that he's speaking from experience, not just theory, because any person that speaks in theory, they know how to solve that in theory. But in practice, you don't solve it by thinking. You solve it by getting a mentor. You solve it by learning from someone who's already done it. It's really hard, at least in my experience, it's really hard to take the next level if you're just trying to sit there and think it, do it on your own, which is the way so many of us are taught to do it. Just go figure it out. And I think that helps to some level, right? But I just, kudos to you, my friend. It's you're speaking like a man who's been there and doing that, and just kudos to your humility. So, yeah.
Well, like, humility is a practice also, Matt. And, I have enough mentors in my life who will remind me that there's usually, if you fix the owner, you fix the business. And they'll often help me chisel off the parts of the marble slab that aren't parts of the statue underneath, as Bruce Lee used to put it. So, now I have business mentors, and I also have like psychotherapists that I work with all the time to help with, getting rid of bad habits and misperceptions and bad mindsets and things like that.
I'm curious what you look for in a mentor. You have several. So what does that look like to you?
Well, it depends. So like I almost think of things as like wartime and peacetime. And for the last 3 years, gyms have kind of been in this wartime state. And so their needs and my needs have been more immediate. It's hard to see the big picture when you've got 800 of your 1,000 gyms closed down. And so in those cases, the mentors that I would seek are very specialized. Here is how to like perform well on Zoom. We would bring people in for that. We brought in Jocko Willink to talk about resilience. And we would bring in Seth Godin to talk about real marketing and what that means. And the mentors that I was working with at that time were really around like my personality. So I was working with Todd Herman, the author of The Alter Ego Effect, for about 2 years in there. And then when that was over, I started working with people who coach business coaches like Taki Moore, Carrie Wilkerson. And we just talked about like expanding a coaching practice, but also how to get better results for your clients all the time. And that's what I'm always focused on right now, is just how do you optimize the results for the clients? And so the mentors that I work with are generally, special at, for example, like one guy's a course specialist right now. And then I work with Bonnie Skinner from Level Up Coaching on myself. She's a registered psychotherapist. I work with Carrie Wilkerson on scaling large coaching companies because she's done this over and over with people like Ryan Dice. So there's different mentors that serve different functions in my life.
What's fascinating to me is that you here as a man, I'm speaking with Chris, who if you've found some level of success, whatever you might define that as. I would say one level might be someone who's successfully built an 8-figure company or community, and you're still hungry for learning. And you're still hungry to have mentors, and you're openly sharing this, and you're asking for help. And you contrast that, someone who has reached this level of success, with a person who is still on the starting block, wondering why they're not successful. They don't ask for help. They don't have a mentor.
Totally.
They don't. It's the idea of even having a therapist, a psychotherapist, even sharing that with people. It might be something they would feel guilty or shameful to even say those words, right? So I just want to applaud that this team, this is not only just walking the walk, this is practicing and talking the talk. This is how you do it. What might be your mechanism for consistent learning? And Chris is giving us a bird's eye, like front row seat to that. So Chris, you said you wanted to talk for a little while about the two brain part of it, or you had some
Yeah.
ideas to share, I'd love to just open the floor up and give you the mic to share where you'd like to take us, Chris.
Okay. Well, so first there was kind of like this third epoch of like hard choices to make.
Yes.
And so sorry, Matt, I kind of took us way off track there,
That's
but
good.
about a year and a half ago, our chief financial officer said, Chris, you know, the other people in the C-suite are starting to complain about you. They think that you're complacent or bored, or you're just like, you're not into it. You're not really invested anymore. And it's not like you're not trying hard. And it's not like you don't care. It's just like you don't show up to meetings as fiery as you once did. And I said, yeah, you know, honestly, I don't know what the next level is for me. Like, we're making more money than I can ever spend. The team is happy. The clients are getting great results. And when the gyms get great results, they make people healthier. Like, so we're making this impact. What else is there? And he said, well, what made you happiest last year? Like, what was your kind of like winning moment? And I said, well, that's really easy. When everything got locked down in our city, um, my wife and I decided the best way that we could help kids in foster care who couldn't even go to school anymore, they couldn't even really leave the house, was to just buy them all bicycles. And so we wound up buying like 55 brand new bikes for kids in foster care. And that was like my win of the year. It was awesome. And so my CFO at the time said, well, how much did that cost you? And I said, well, you know, between that and some other stuff, like, I don't know, 50,000. And he's like, well, what if you could 10X that? You know, what if you could buy 500 bikes a year, or give away 500,000 a year, or even give away $1 million a year? And I said, well, that would feel great. Like, it would feel like this is the purpose. And he's like, well, then why don't you just make lots of money and give it away? And that for me was such a paradigm shift, honestly, Matt, because, and the more I think about it, the more profound that is. And I don't take credit for that. That was the CFO's idea, his quote, make lots of money and give it away. The reality is, like, there are very few people in our culture, even in our like open market system, who are good at making money. And most of us are raised with a scarcity mindset about money. We're taught to hoard it. We're taught that wealthy people must have like taken that money from somebody else or tricked people. Even Disney movies, you know, you watch a Disney movie, every rich person is a villain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But the reality is that if I make lots of money, I'm doing something that very few people are good at, and I can just give it away because very few people are good at making money for people who need it, even when they do need it. You know, I mean, Mother Teresa, a saint, but Bill Gates paid for 600,000 vaccinations in sub-Saharan Africa. I mean, you got to use your gift. And if you're good at making money, like, use that gift. And that really fired me up. So, I went right back into Two Brain with a renewed sense of passion. I broke off just about every other business that I own and said, this is my engine for producing money so that I can give it away to people who are not good at making money.